What's up, everybody, and welcome back to British English Pod. And in today's episode, we're going to be recapping, reviewing, or maybe learning for the first time 40 relatively advanced, quite colloquial British English adjectives. So I hope you're ready to listen and learn and enjoy at the same time. So that said, let's get the ball rolling. My first quick question is, does this ring a bell? Does this look familiar? If you are watching right now, I'm showing you a thumbnail from about a month ago when I was back home and I was at my mum and dad's and teaching you 40 plus British English adjectives. So if you haven't already watched that video, I'd recommend you check it out, but you can wait until after this podcast because, every month I'm thinking about different topics, different things that we could do in class and things that I could teach you on the podcast. And, adjectives are one of those topics, those subjects that people maybe don't give enough importance to because I'm often talking quite a lot about idioms, phrasal verbs, all of that kind of stuff. But adjectives, they're very, very useful because they allow you to express and describe things in a much more accurate and authentic way. So this week, we've been covering all of these adjectives. I don't know if in the podcast we'll get round to covering all of them, but let's give it a go. And quick question. Did you watch or listen to the podcast from last Friday? Let me know in the comments, because if you did and you made it until the end of the podcast, you'll know that I'm kind of recording back to back. I'm almost recording 2 podcasts in a row. And that means that it is 6 o'clock in the evening and it's Friday. So this is what I'm doing with my Friday night. Whoop, whoop. I am a party animal. I'm the life and soul of the party because I said to myself, Lewis, this weekend, you're going to work hard. You're going to get a lot of content done. In particular, YouTube videos and podcasts. So yeah, since I finished recording and editing and uploading the last podcast, I've been for a quick run, only 5 kilometers, and then I walked the remaining 3, maybe even 4 kilometers whilst listening to music. I've just popped to the shop to pick up some groceries so I can then cook and have dinner after I finish this podcast. And I should probably get to the point. I should probably get stuck in because, as I warned you, we've got quite a lot to get through today. Quite a lot of different words and phrases. And I want to achieve my aim of completing the whole PowerPoint because I was considering splitting this up into 2 separate pods. Whilst I was walking back, I was thinking, should I just do 20 of these adjectives and then do 20 in the next video? And then I can spread out the videos and I don't have to make quite as many. And maybe it'll be more digestible for you guys who are watching or listening. But in the end, I don't know why. I just said to myself, whilst I was having a shower, Lewis, let's get through it all. Let's do it all. Let's do the full bang. Everything. And we're going to start with another little story. Last week, I read a little story to you. And this week, I'm going to do the same. So now you can see that we have a short story and it includes all of these adjectives. So listen carefully and focus in on all of these adjectives that you might not know. And if you don't know them, well, you're going to learn them in the next hour for sure. 3, 2, 1. Last weekend, a few friends and I went away for a city break. At first, the weather looked a bit iffy, but we decided to go anyway. The train was absolutely packed, and by the time we arrived, we were shattered. Finding our hotel was surprisingly nerve-wracking because our map was useless, and we were completely clueless. The hotel looked stunning from the outside, but the entrance was a bit tacky, and the reception area felt rather cramped. Thankfully, our room was spotless, cozy, and the bed was top-notch, so our first impressions quickly improved. That evening, we went to a local pub that was absolutely buzzing. One friend got a little tipsy after a couple of pints and started telling daft jokes. Another made a cheeky comment to the waiter, which created a slightly awkward silence. Luckily, the waiter was really laid back and laughed it off. Later, we met a couple who were incredibly down to earth, although one of them was a bit nosy, asking us endless questions about our jobs and relationships. Meanwhile, another friend became quite moody because he was fussy about where to eat. We finally found a fancy restaurant, but the service was dreadful. One waiter was unbelievably bossy. The food smelled stinky, and one dish tasted absolutely rank. We were all gutted, especially after reading so many cracking reviews online. To make matters worse, the bill included several extra charges, which was shocking. One of my friends was fuming and insisted the restaurant was completely dodgy, while another was a bit naive and thought it must have been an honest mistake. Thankfully, our hotel receptionist was extremely reliable and recommended another place nearby. The next day was much better. We found a cafe that was spot on. The breakfast was excellent and everyone was chuffed. We spent the afternoon exploring the city, although some of the tourist attractions were a bit dull, and one street performer was so cringy that we couldn't stop laughing. By the end of the trip, we'd all agreed the weekend had been slightly mental at times, but despite a few filthy streets, a couple of stubborn friends, and one very dodgy restaurant, it had still been a brilliant adventure. So, what did you think of the story? I think it was a pretty good story, if you ask me. Above all, because of how much advanced vocabulary was kind of jam-packed inside this story. Obviously, the whole point of the story is to show you the context of these adjectives, which we're going to continue looking at. But I'm curious. Did you understand the majority? Did you know the majority of these adjectives? Because, yes, they're relatively advanced, but they're not like unbelievably advanced. I'd say most of them are around about a B2 level. Perhaps a few of them are a little bit higher, but not that many. But they are adjectives that I don't think that many non-native speakers use. Some of them, of course, but out of 40, I'd say maybe half of them I hardly ever hear my students using or friends who are non-native English speakers here in Brussels or Spain. So I hope you liked it, and I hope it wasn't too tricky. And now we're going to go over them. We're going to match the synonyms. So here you might be able to see my screen, and I'm going to be drawing a line to connect the adjectives we've just heard on the left with their possible synonyms on the right. And we're going to split this up into 4 sections, so 10 at a time. The first word is iffy. If something is iffy, it's a bit unpredictable, uncertain, or poor quality. So we're going to match it with uncertain. Number 2 is tipsy. And if you're feeling a bit tipsy, you're feeling slightly drunk, just a little bit drunk, a bit merry, we can also say. Then we have dodgy. I think this is British people's favorite adjective because it's so versatile. And for that reason, it's quite difficult to match because dodgy could be uncertain, it could be dangerous, it could be poor quality, but one of the main synonyms is suspicious, a dodgy guy, a dodgy website. Number 4 is buzzing. Very British again. I am buzzing about going to Spain for the rest of the summer. I'm super excited. I'm absolutely buzzing. Then number 5 is fuming. Urgh. I am so fuming right now because I just remembered that I forgot to send my friend a birthday message. I'm so angry. But wait, angry isn't an option. So for that reason, fuming is livid. So fuming, livid, cross, they're all ways of saying angry, but very angry, to be honest. Number 6 is chuffed. I am chuffed that I've been productive today. I'm really happy. I'm really content. I'm so chuffed. Number 7 is basically the opposite, one that I also use quite a lot. Gutted. Gutted. And even on my conversations with Steve, we tend to use this word quite a lot. Gutted. It's like your guts have been taken out of you. So you feel very disappointed. I'm gutted that my football team lost the match. Number 8 is spot on. And I don't know if this one counts as an adjective, but I've included it anyway. So if I tell someone that their work is spot on, I'm saying that it is exactly right. Like it's awesome. It's perfect. It is spot on. Spot on, mate. Now, number 9 is shattered. Shattered. It's another way of saying exhausted. And another British alternative is knackered. Shattered, knackered, both mean exhausted. And number 10 is packed. When I went to that restaurant the other night, it was packed. It was chock-a-block. It was so busy. So, there you have the first 10. So we're making progress. We're doing well. I like it. Efficiency. Now, I'm going to answer some of the questions I've prepared using these. So, first question I'm going to ask myself is, have you ever done anything funny after feeling a little bit tipsy? Now, to be honest, I think I'm a good drunk. I don't do really crazy things. I keep myself pretty under control and quite sensible. I'm quite responsible. But funny things that I've done after feeling a bit tipsy, well, I've definitely fallen over when I've been a bit tipsy. I've definitely said the wrong thing and then like, oh no, I shouldn't have said that if I've been tipsy. I can think of many other friends who, when they get tipsy, they switch completely, they change completely, and it's like, whoa, what happened to him? What's he taken? But in my case, I think when I get a bit tipsy, I just get a bit more sociable, less inhibitions, and I'm chattier. That's how I respond to getting tipsy. Now next, okay, I'm going to answer a controversial question. And I'm going to say it. Why not? The question is, what's the last thing that made you absolutely fuming? Really, really angry? Well, it's football, once again. Right now, it's been a few days since Argentina beat England in the semi-final of the World Cup, and to be honest, I can have no complaints. They were the better team. England scored in the 60th minute. Until that moment, it was quite even, 50-50. And, well, there were two things that made me absolutely fuming. One was the fact that the team and the manager just immediately started to defend. And they were inviting the pressure. So it was just a matter of time before Argentina equalized and then made the comeback. But in the first half, I was fuming with the referee, and I was fuming with the Argentinian players, because the referee should have given 3 or 4 yellow cards, maybe even a red card, because they were so aggressive, so violent, and so physical. And the ref didn't seem to care. He was looking the other way. And the first yellow card received was by an England player, even though there had been 10 extra fouls by Argentinian players, which were much dirtier than the England foul. So I was fuming seeing the first half. And I love Argentina as a country, and I love Argentinians. But, you know, the football team, it's been difficult for the rest of the world to like Argentina, in particular this World Cup, because of FIFA's decisions, the way that the fans have behaved, the way that the players have behaved. So, if you're Argentinian and you're listening to this and you don't like what I'm saying, fair enough. I love you, Argentinian, but I don't love your football team. And I'm recording this just before the final. So I hope that Spain win, for obvious reasons. But if you win, then you will have deserved it. So if that is the case, then congratulations, of course. We have to be respectful in defeat as well as in victory. Respect comes first. And fair play as well comes first. All right. Maybe I shouldn't have said that. But I said it. I got it off my chest. I got it off my chest. So yeah, I was fuming. Now, how about another question? Let's go with, when was the last time you felt completely shattered, knackered, exhausted? Well, in my podcast 2 weeks ago, I was shattered. I was knackered because I woke up at 4 o'clock in the morning after only sleeping for 4 hours. So yeah, I was shattered. I was knackered, genuinely. Because I can't handle it anymore. If I don't sleep well for a few days, then I end up being shattered. I end up being knackered, and that was the case. So I was shattered. Now, how about one more, and then we'll move on to the next 10. What's something you've done recently that you're really chuffed about? What's something you've done recently that you were really chuffed about? Well, maybe a month ago, I made a really delicious dish. You might have heard me saying on the podcast before that I love Indian food. I love Pakistani food. So I sometimes try to make my own. And about a month ago, I made my own curry. It was like a butter chicken, more or less. I made my own naan bread. I made my own pilau rice. I also made a little starter of like Indian lamb chops. And I was, of course, following a recipe, but using a little bit of creative freedom at the same time. And I was chuffed because it came out so good, so tasty. And I thought to myself, like, maybe I don't need to go to a takeaway place anymore. Maybe I don't need to go to Indian restaurants. Maybe I could be the chef. So I was chuffed with my own cooking skills, to be honest. Now, we've also got some gap fills in this lesson plan, but we're going to skip them because I don't think we'd get round to completing the whole podcast. So we're going to skip the gap fills throughout the podcast. And now let's continue with the next 10 adjectives, starting with fussy. Fussy. A fussy person is someone who's very, very picky, very particular. They want everything in a certain way. It's especially common with food. If you are a fussy eater or a picky eater, then you don't like everything. You like very little or very little variety. Number 2 is moody. It's funny because my friends, when I was a child and I played football, my dad sometimes helped out in like the football training, and people make jokes because they'd call him Moody Bruce. And it was a kind of funny, friendly nickname, quite cheeky, to be honest. But it was because he didn't smile that much. He was always a little bit grumpy. So my dad used to be called Moody Bruce. Now, number 3, cheeky. Cheeky. You cheeky boy. You cheeky little so-and-so. A cheeky person is a mischievous person. Somebody who's maybe just on the line, just on the limit of saying something inappropriate or something wrong, but in a kind of jokey, friendly way. That would be a cheeky person. Number 4 is nosy. A nosy person is someone who's always got their nose in so many different things. They've got their finger in many pies. They want to know what's going on. They want to know the gossip and rumors in particular. So a nosy person is someone who is eager to know gossip. They want to find out what's happening all the time. A bit annoying if you ask me. Number 5 is bossy. You do that. You do that. You do that. Come on. A bossy person would behave like that. It's someone who gives lots of orders. Of course, bossy comes from boss. Your boss gives you orders. So that person is a bossy person. Number 6 is laid back. I'm a pretty laid back guy. I think I'm quite laid back most of the time. And a laid back person is someone who's just relaxed. And if you lean back, it's a kind of posture that people use when they are, well, relaxed. You're leaning back. And a laid back person, as I said, is just someone who's calm, chilled, relaxed. Number 7 is quite an advanced one, but I think in a few different languages, you have a similar equivalent. It is down to earth. Down to earth. I think I explained it a while ago as well. But if someone is down to earth, it means they are in touch with humble people. You're a normal guy. You're not living on another planet. You're a down to earth bloke. Or a down to earth lass. Someone who's humble and their feet are on the ground. Number 8 is nerve-wracking. Nerve-wracking. Flying for many people can be quite nerve-wracking. It's something that makes you feel nervous. So you might be biting your nails because it's a nerve-wracking situation. Stunning is number 9. In English, we have lots of alternatives to say, wow, beautiful, gorgeous, incredible, amazing. But stunning is one that I don't think many people use, and we should use it more. So I'll probably sit on my balcony and sunbathe for half an hour and just close my eyes when I finish recording this podcast. Because sometimes as the sun is setting, as the sun is going down, I look and I think, wow, that is stunning. That view is stunning. And lastly, number 10, it is clueless. If you don't know something, if you're a bit ignorant towards something, you might be clueless. If I'm speaking to friends, I have some friends who are experts in politics, and others when, if we're speaking about it, they just switch off. And then you might ask them like, whoa, what's wrong? It's like, I just don't care about politics. I'm clueless about it. It means you know nothing about it. And maybe you're not interested in it at all. That's probably the two are quite related. They're quite linked. Good. We're halfway there, almost. Now I'm going to answer maybe 4 more questions using some of these adjectives. So, are you a fussy eater? Or will you eat almost anything? I'm not a fussy eater at all. I will eat pretty much anything. If you're a regular listener, you know I'm allergic to nuts. So, of course, I can't eat nuts. If it is just a tiny, tiny amount, like traces of nuts, it's no big deal. It doesn't matter. I eat it. But aside from that, I will eat pretty much everything. I can't think of many things that kind of put me off. I can't think of many things that somebody will show me, and then I think, ooh, no, I don't want to eat that. So I'm not a fussy eater at all. I'm not a picky eater at all. No, I'm not. The second question, what usually makes you feel moody? What puts you in a bad mood? Well, if I'm in a packed place, a very crowded place, and I haven't got a lot of personal space, then I can get a bit moody. What else makes me a bit moody? The roadworks. Hearing drilling all of the time, as I mentioned a few weeks ago, that makes me a bit moody. And the feeling of somebody trying to rip you off. If somebody's trying to overcharge you and rip you off, then that makes me really moody. And it puts me in a bad mood. I think it happens to all of us. Next question. Do you think it's okay to be a little nosy sometimes? Do you think it's okay to be a little nosy sometimes? Remember, nosy is when you're kind of getting in other people's business and you want to know what's going on. And I don't think there's anything wrong with being nosy. I think if you want to maintain a conversation and maybe strike up a conversation, you have to be a little bit you have to be a little bit nosy. I couldn't get the word out there. So, of course, if I see someone for the first time in a long time and we are catching up, then I might ask like, what's happening in your love life? Or how about your siblings? Where are they? What are they doing at the moment? And this isn't being too nosy, but it's still being a little bit nosy. You still want to find out the juicy gossip. And here we could use this idiom, which is, come on, spill the tea, spill the beans. Tell me what's going on. I'm nosy. Now, let's do one more. How about, what is the most stunning place you've ever visited? The most stunning place you've ever visited. Now, I mentioned Argentina earlier, the football team, but the most stunning place, or maybe even the most stunning places that I've ever visited, might be in Argentina. Because when I lived with an Argentinian family for 6 months, I went to the glacier in Patagonia called Perito Moreno, and it was stunning. I had never seen anything like it before. And yeah, it was just a massive, piece of ice and a frozen river surrounded by beautiful landscape and beautiful mountains. So that was stunning. And what makes the country stunning as well is that I also went to the north in an area where you have lots of waterfalls that shares a border with Brazil and Paraguay, which is Iguaçu, las Cataratas de Iguaçu, or in Brazilian Portuguese, I think it's Os Fossos de Iguaçu. And this was stunning as well. I've got photos from when I was there, like 10 years ago now, maybe even longer. And it was like jaw-droppingly beautiful because you see waterfall literally 360 degrees around you. And you could get a boat to get closer to some of these little waterfalls. So honestly, beautiful, incredible, absolutely stunning. And then we have the second 10 words. Now, we keep going. We keep going. Let's go. Let's keep this show on the road. These are the next 10 from 21 to 30. I think that's how it works. So number 1 is spotless. Spotless. Right now, my flat is definitely not spotless because spotless is very clean. You can't find a spot. And another synonym for that is immaculate. I wish my kitchen were spotless. I wish it were immaculate, but it just isn't, unfortunately. At the moment, it is actually filthy. So filthy is very dirty. It's the opposite of spotless. Then, number 3 is dull. Dull. You might be watching a series or a film and you say, this is a bit dull. Or you might be reading a book and think, this is quite dull. So dull is a way of saying boring, uninteresting. It's just, it's got nothing to it. It's quite dull. Number 4 is cringy. Cringy. Oh, cringy is kind of like embarrassing, but more so. And usually, if something is cringy, it makes you blush. It makes your cheeks go red. So I think you know this, but a cringy situation or a cringy person is kind of when it's embarrassing. You want to cover your eyes and not see it and just get teleported away. Number 5 is tacky. Now, I guarantee this is one of these words that I was saying that is among the more advanced ones. A tacky t-shirt or a tacky ornament is one that's not very fashionable. It doesn't look very good. It looks a bit cheap. So tacky is, of course, not stylish or cheap looking. Number 6 is one of my faves, one of my favorites. It is mental, mate. Mental. And if you say someone or something is mental, you're saying it's crazy. That is mental. Can you believe it? Mental. Number 7 is daft. Come on, mate. Don't be daft. Don't be an idiot. Don't be stupid. So daft is exactly that. A bit silly. So it's not quite as bad as stupid, but if someone's been a bit daft, they're being a bit dumb, a bit silly. Don't be daft. Keep your head, Keep your head. Number 8, relatively easy, is shocking. Of course, if something is shocking, it's really surprising. Now, number 9, I believe, is a French word, and it is naive. There is a song that is really good by The Kooks, and it is called Naive. I'm not going to sing it to you, because when I've sung on this podcast, I've seen the odd comment saying, Lewis, you're a great teacher, but you're a terrible singer. I know that. So yeah, today I'm not going to sing. I'm not going to sing. I'll keep it to myself. When I stop recording, maybe that's when I'll sing. But if you are being naive, or you are a naive person, you're gullible, you're innocent, meaning that you'll believe anything, or you think that everything's going to be all right, and it's clearly not going to be. Don't be so naive. Now, number 10, another one that I reckon you'll know is awkward. If you feel a bit awkward, you feel a bit uncomfortable. You know, it's kind of like cringy, but not exactly. You can have awkward silences, or you could feel a bit awkward if you feel a bit uncomfortable in like a social setting. So these two are quite similar. Now let me ask myself some questions. So, which one shall I go for? I don't know. Let's go with this one. What do you think makes a hotel or a house look tacky? Unstylish. You see, I'm going to have to agree with my sister here. Because my sister, I think, is really stylish. She's really fashionable. And she won't be listening to this, for sure. But if you are listening to this, well, you're welcome. But it's true that she has always gone for very, very beige colors when it comes to decorating her house and choosing what to wear. She always goes for white, cream, brown, green, and she'll never really put on a t-shirt or an outfit that is very bright in colors. I do sometimes. Not always, but I do sometimes. But I'm not speaking about clothes. I think it's tacky when in your house you have very, very bright colors. If you have a purple wall and then you have a green painting. I don't know a lot about interior design, but for me, if there's just colors everywhere when I walk in a room, it looks a bit tacky. It looks a bit unstylish. Hopefully nobody listening to this has a very, very bright purple wall and a green painting, because I'm going to be losing a lot of followers if so. Hopefully you can take it on the chin. And if you take something on the chin, you don't take it seriously. This is another example of, please, take everything I say with a pinch of salt. Don't take it too personally. Don't take it to heart. So that's what I'd say is a bit tacky. Another thing is wearing big gold chains, like a big gold necklace, in particular as a man. If it's really, really thick and bright, and you've got loads of really glaring jewelry, I just think it looks a bit tacky. Oh, this is some kind of like therapy session for myself. I'm getting so much off my chest. Next question. How about we go with, do you think you were more naive as a child than you are now? Do you think you were more naive as a child than you are now? Yeah, of course. I think the whole point of being naive is being innocent. And the younger you are, the more innocent you are. So as children, we're very quick to trust strangers when maybe we shouldn't. And as children or teenagers, then, well, you're going to believe somebody else's lies. You're not going to be able to see through their lies. So, yes, for sure, when we're younger, we are more naive. Another question. What's the most awkward situation you've ever been in? The most awkward situation you've ever been in? I think I know. an example. And I don't remember when this happened, actually, but it was at some point when I was at university, I believe. And I didn't do anything, but I was at a hotel and I was working as one of the waiters to help out another friend. So I've never really worked as a waiter in my life, but I did a few shifts whilst I was at uni. And I wasn't taking orders or anything like that. It was like a big catering event. So then I was just going in, grabbing plates with food and stuff like that, and serving it to the diners. And I remember the person in front of me carrying a plate or a dish of like some kind of soup, some kind of tomato soup. And I think you can already gather where I'm going with this. That I was just behind, witnessing everything, when my friend was just about to serve a diner, and then suddenly the plate started shaking and spilled all over this quite posh looking woman. And I remember stopping immediately and being like, oh my God, this is the typical thing that happens on like series and films. And I remember the other person in front of me, like kind of screaming a little bit and then like begging for forgiveness. It's like, sorry. It was a mistake. I didn't mean to. And I was like, get me out of here. Because it was so awkward. And I felt so awkward in that moment. So yeah, off the top of my head, as with everything, that's definitely one of the most awkward situations I've been in. Now, let's do the final round, the final 10, and we're making great time here. So, the first word is dreadful. Dreadful. I felt dreadful for my friend in this situation, having to go through that level of embarrassment. And if you feel dreadful for someone, you feel awful, you feel terrible, you feel horrible. Number 2, top notch. Top notch. If something is top notch, it's great. It's a very, very high quality. So I think when I made the first video for YouTube, I was showing everybody my dad's coffee machine and his coffee beans. And his coffee, his espressos, honestly, they are top notch. So tasty. So tasty. Number 3 is cramped. Here in this flat, it's just a matter of time before we move out. But in this flat, I do feel a bit cramped sometimes because there's not a lot of space. So if you are cramped, maybe also on public transport at rush hour, you don't have space. You are cramped. Number 4 is stinky. Ew. If somebody farts, if somebody trumps, it might be a bit stinky. And I'm not sure if you have a similar belief in your mother tongue, but in English, when speaking about farts, we say silent but violent. Do you get it? Silent but violent. This means that if you pass wind, but nobody hears it, and it's completely silent, then the smell will be so stinky. It will be so violent. It'll be, absolutely rank. So silent but violent is a very smelly, stinky, disgusting fart. Sorry, come on, Lewis. Pull yourself together. We've almost done. Number 5, reliable. Reliable. My laptop is very reliable. I've had it for ages, donkey's years now. And it's served me so well. Sometimes it overheats a little bit, but most of the time, it's so trustworthy. I can rely on it. Number 7, fancy. Fancy. When this awkward moment happened with spilling some soup on this lady, it was quite a fancy hotel. It was quite a posh hotel. Number 8 is cozy. If you've got a blanket, especially in winter, you're having some hot chocolate, watching a film, cuddling with your significant other. Oh, it's so cozy, so warm and comfortable, so cozy. Number 9 is stubborn. Sometimes I'm guilty of being a bit stubborn, that I don't change my mind so much and I always go with what I believe and I'm not that open to hearing someone else out. It's not always true, but sometimes with certain things I can be a little bit stubborn, a bit headstrong. Now, number 10, cracking. Cracking. That is cracking. Today actually is a cracking day. It's a great day. It's cracking. Absolutely cracking day. This is just a generic way of saying great, amazing. It's a cracking day. Absolutely cracking day. A few more questions, then we'll wrap it up. Have you ever lived or stayed in a cramped... Let me repeat. Have you ever lived or stayed in a cramped space? I think now it's not so cramped. My little working area is quite cramped. But when I was at university staying in halls of residence, it was definitely quite cramped. You had very limited personal space. And I like personal space. Next question. What's the stinkiest smell you've ever experienced? Well, I think rotten egg is quite stinky. Also, fish, if you have some kind of fish and then it's in the bin for a few days in summer, it's stinky. And then if you drive past some kind of like recycling area or sewage works, it's really, really stinky. And have you ever had a dreadful customer service experience? I don't think I have, you know. I think I've always been quite assertive when it comes to customer service. And everybody I've usually spoken to, they've been nice and they've been able to help me out. And if they haven't been able to help me out, I think it's usually just because it wasn't in their hands. They didn't have the power to be able to help me out. Now, final question. What's the coziest place you've ever stayed? The coziest place you've ever stayed? Well, for me, the image that I envision when I think of a cozy space or place is in the mountains, in some kind of cabin where it's been snowing all day. So all you can see is just a white layer. And you're inside the cabin, you're on the sofa, you've got the fireplace blazing. As I said, you've got some hot chocolate. You might have some kind of cheese fondue as well. Oh, this sounds great. I know we're in the middle of summer, but right now, I wish I was somewhere in the Alps, maybe the Swiss Alps, having some fondue with a nice fire blazing, a blanket. Oh, sounds like a fairy tale. It sounds delightful. It sounds like a cracking experience. And I hope that you think this has been a cracking podcast. So thank you everybody for watching or listening, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.